We need peace, we choose freedom. We need peace, we choose freedom. There was a nation living in peace and unity. Hey, they are people with love and harmony. Oh, yeah. They saw greatness rise up to its purity. With another people of different culture, a dear heritage, bias and oppressive. Oh, I see. A nation from trigger of Africa, rising with strength and might and power. In due time, nobody gonna praise us. Rather, you all gonna embrace her. With your flag, with your flag, with your flag, with your flag. Oh, yeah. Let the tears of our mothers who lost their children be heard. Let the blood of our heroes speak from now till forever. Let the whole wide world know Biafra is our home. Oh yeah, Biafra is our home. Oh, it's my home. Yeah, Biafra is our home. I
reminisce way back 1967. Death toll on the blood couldn't count them even. Mama screaming, child squealing, pops on the ground. 2.5 years, over 3 million's gone. Why? Cause we asked for our freedom, and we're going back to our sovereign kingdom. They shut us down when we cried, the world said nothing. Sitting back in the crib, watching our suffering. Should I talk about the planes dropping shells like rain? Suka had the first taste of a hero's blood. Abagana Zobuni wave was stronger than flood, but the juke is too strong and fought them off on the chart. Thought the bloodshed's gone, then it came again. 216 and the massacre, it started again. So bloody name, I couldn't cry tears. Blood dripping down my eyes, water in my veins. We died trying to fight the cause and we're trying to break him. It's our freedom, but the world was against us.
Wave your flag over Africa. Welcome people of Biafra. Wave your flag over all the world. See those people of Zion is here.
It is the nation that the Lord has chosen for the people of Zion. It is the nation that the Lord has chosen for the people of Zion.
We need peace, we choose freedom. We need peace, we choose freedom. Yeah. Let the tears of our mothers who lost their children be heard. Let the blood of our heroes speak from now till forever. Let the whole wide world know Biafra is our home. I see the rising sun from Africa. Oh, this is time of victory. Oh, yeah. I see future in Africa. Oh yeah, people of Biafra. See light shining on the world. Oh yeah.
Akara m ihe mbe na-eme mbe si ma achọrọ ofu ukwu ehi ma nke ọzọ mụ achọrọ ihe niile ma ụkwụ ya ma aka ya ma isi ya ma olu ya anyị ga-adọbiri wee pụọ na nke onwe anyị tighata azụ etu anyị nọ tupu ndị ọcha wee bịa ebe a nwa aha obodo ebe a nwe ndị mmadụ n'ime tupu nwa bekee si ebe o si hapụ obodo ya ọ bịa ebe a ọkpọrọ onye nke ọkpọrọ okeke ọkpọrọ okafọ dakata anyị isi ọ sị n'ụbọchị nke taa na anya aha anyị wusi Naijiria anyị na-aza aha na-enweghị omimi n'ime ya ngwa gị gbasị biko kọwara m ihe Naijiria pụtara enwepụghị kọwara m ọmụa ga-aza aha osimiri ka osimiri ga-aza aha mụnwa n'ihi ihe anyị na-ekwuwu na ebe arụgidere ụlọ a na ọ jọgburu onwe ya ọ dịghị mma Nigeria agaghị emekọtanwu ihe ọzọ. Ihe ọjọọ emego n'obodo a, arụ emego, egbugo ndị be anyị, aka na-egbukwa anyị, ndị Fulani wee chere na mabata be anyị ka na-egbukwa ndị be anyị ruo ụtụtụ echi. A na-asị m na ọ ga-adị mma oge ọ na-ekwu ka nwee mmekọrịta bụ nke ndị nnọkọ nke ndị ụmụnne. Ha egosighị anyị ọtụtụ mgbe na ha kpọrọ anyị asị. Onye ajụrụ ajụ na-ajụ onwe ya, ha jụrụ anyị aja ama njụ onwe anyị, agbanyeghị na anyị nwe ngwa ahịa n'ugwu Awụsa, agbanyeghị na anyị na-azụ ahịa ebe niile dị iche iche na-eme nke ọma, kama onye gara ndụ kpakụ onye ire rie n'elu. Ọ Ndụbụisi ka anyị na-ekwu okwu ya, ka anyị cheghata azụ ebe a ruo obodo anyị ka o wee maa mma, wee karịa obodo ndị ọcha na mma. Ọhịa anyị na-arịọ nwoke n'ugwu nwee nkwanye ugwu n'ime onwe anyị. Ọnwa anyị pụọ n'iro a na-etigbu anyị, anyị pụọ n'iro okwu okwu asị abụ gịnị ma anyị ji wee ekwu okwu. Ụmụ ihe ndị a ka anyị sị na anyị agaghị anabatakwa ya ọzọ.
Akụkọ a kọrọ anyị bụ na ọkụkọ na ewu agaghị nzukọ ụmụ anụmanụ. A na-emezi mgbe ọbụla a chọrọ ịchụ aja ejiri ọkụkọ maọbụ nwụchụ aja. Mgbe ọbụla a chọrọ ime ka Naijiria dị n'otu, enwe ha na-eto esi wee kpam akpụrụ ndị Igbo. Ọ pụtara na anyị bụ ọkụkọ maọbụ ka ọ pụtara na anyị agaghị nzukọ mere ya bụ ihe eji eme anyị bụ ndị Igbo ụdị na ọbara ndị Igbo ahụ kpafu n'obodo Naijiria gaja.
Ọ bụ site na akpọmasị ihe na-eme anyị dị ka ihe mere ndị ji oge mgbe gara aga. Etu akụkọ mba niile dị iche iche si kpọọ ụmụ Izrel asị, a na-egbu ha, a na-egbu ha, a na-egbu ha, afọ niile aka na-egbu ha na-egbu ha. O wee ruo oge ugbu anyị asị na ogbugbu a na-egbu anyị na ọ dịghị anyị mma. Ọ ka mma na onwe ihe kwegbuo anyị wu nwere onwe njem a nke anyị na-aga, kama na na-esi etete n'ụtụtụ asị na onwe onye gburu ebe a onwe ha na-ekwu okwu. O doo na onye onwe onye n'aka ụkọchukwu n'ugwu Awụsa ebepụ isi, ọnwụghị ofu ugboro, ọnwụghị ugboro abụọ, ọnwụghị ugboro atọ, ọnwụghị ugboro anọ. Ọ bụ ruo ole mgbe ka a ga-egbugide anyị wee rue anyị asị mba na anyị ga-aga ka anyị nwee ike wee nwere onwe anyị? Ọ ka mma na anyị nwụrụ ebe anyị na-azọ nwere onwe tụbụ na anyị nọ n'ụlọ etu a mmadụ bụ mabata n'ime ụlọ mbịa bupụ m isi a sị na-achọghị ụdị nka. Ọ bụghị anyị maka a ga-eji wee chụọ àjà ọzọ.
Onye si na ya ga-ata anyị ahụhụ ma ọ bụ na anyị fe arụsị, anyị wee na-efe arụsị, mgbe were iwe gị na ọmụma gị wee bịa leta anyị, ụmụ anyị wee na-anwụsị. Ụfọdụ nọ n'ụzọ ije ha anaghị alọta ụlọ ọzọ. Nne na nna wee na-ata ahụhụ, wee na-ata ikikere eze. Nwaanyị konye ka ọ gaa ubi gaa rụọ ọrụ, Fulani chiri ehi bata ebe ala ihe niile n'iyi, okwu ebepụ ya isi. Anyị bụ ka anyị kpọpụ onye nwe anyị n'ugwu Awụsa ahụ ejide anyị wee gbuo. Ihe ọ bụ anyị mara aka n'ime ha si maka ha aga n'ihu. Elekwa ọdụ ụgbọ mmiri n'igwe ọcha bụ ememiri ọhịa nke dị na Kalaba otu aka ahụ. Anyị na-ala nsọ ebe Biafra bụ ndị kọstọm sokonye anyị n'etiti anyị. Anyị anọghị n'ime mmiri kama kọstọm juru ebe niile. Ha wee na-ata anyị ahụhụ. Anyị kwuo ekwesịpụta anyị ka kpọchie, anyị kwuo ekwesịpụta anyị ka gbagbuo anyị. Onye nwe anyị na Chineke na nke bi n'igwe ọ bụ ụzọ dị anya ka isi wepụ ndị iro anyị n'anya wee karịa ndị nke gị. Akwa anyị bụ ụmụ Chineke, akwa ọba aha anyị ka anyị na-aza, akwa ọba anyị nwe na-aza ike Chukwu, akwa ọba anyị nwe na-aza amara Chineke, akwa ọba anyị nwe na-aza Chisom, akwa ọba anyị nwe na-aza Chizoba, nna nke dị nsọ, onye ime eluigwe dịka otu onye iro dị na anyị bụ ụmụ gị. Bịa ka iwe zọpụta anyị, bịa ka iwe napụta anyị n'aka ọjọọ ihe, bịa ka iwe lụọrọ anyị ọgụ, bịa ka iwe dịtụ ozu. Ọ bụ ọkọwa mgbe e milere Goliath, Chineke nna nke igwe ruo ememiri Fero, sikwa otu a mee ka Fero ka ọ guzo n'ihu ụmụ ndị anyị bịobi ka o wee taa akọkọ igiri ụtọ ọzọ. Ị ga na-edu anyị n'ụzọ niile nke ezi omume. Ọ bụla adịghị na anyị na-aga ndagwurugwu onyinye ọnwụ. Ọ bụ nwa bụ ekele n'igwe n'ụwa, nwunye ọbụla kere gị n'oge mmalite n'oge ọgwụgwụ, kama anyị onwe anyị kwa anọkwa ahụ ofu ụbọchị anyị ga-anwụ n'ezie, kama ma akọ na ogbu gị na-anọgide ebe mgbe ebighị ebi. Ọ bụ ya mere anyị ji were gị n'anya isi, anyị wee na-asị nna nke dị nsọ, bịa ka iwe gosi anyị Biafra na ndụ na-abụghị n'ọnwụ, bịa ka iwe mee ka ebe gị na amara gị wee kpuchiri anyị ka uwe, bịa ka iwe zọpụta ndị nke gị, bịa ka iwe mee ka Biafra wee bịa, ka anyị na-ewetụta na nsọpụrụ na ịja mma site n'aha gị onye bụ Chukwu nke abịa ma.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us on this very evening program. I welcome every one of you that have connected wherever you are connecting from. Please like and share the program. Share to family and friends. Share to your neighbors. Share to those that are close to you so that they can join us in this very evening and join us on watching this very program. Remember, this is a very critical time, a time that we must not stop talking, a time that we need to speak more than we have ever done before because the Janjaweed are doing everything humanly possible to change the narrative. We cannot allow them to change the narrative. The only way they can succeed to change this narrative is when we stop talking. By the time you stop talking, by the time I stop broadcasting, by the time we stop encouraging each other, their lie will fly. But as long as we continue to do what we are supposed to do, as long as we continue to talk, as long as we continue to present issues the way it is, as long as we continue to debunk all their lies, no matter the amount of money they pay, they will never, ever, ever, ever succeed. No matter the amount of money they pay, they will never succeed. We shall defeat them. So that is why anywhere you are, don't stop talking. Don't stop sharing information. When you see anything that has to do with the issue of the Zoological Republic and their lies, do not hesitate to share. Make sure you share it. Make sure you share this information. It is very, very important because if we keep silent, they are going to change the truth. If we keep silent, they will change the truth. There is no two ways about it. You cannot win this battle in silence. You cannot win this battle in pretense. You cannot win this battle by just remaining and feel that it doesn't matter. It matters. The only way you can be able to overcome, the only way we can be able to win this battle is by speaking every blessed day, every minute, every second, in every opportunity we have. We must continue to speak. We must continue to talk. Don't ever stop talking. Any day you stop talking, any day you stop broadcasting, any day we stop bringing out the truth, they will overrun us. And maybe before you know it, it will be too late to respond. That is why we are not giving up. No matter how difficult it is, no matter how challenging it is, we will continue to promote the cause of Biafra. We will continue to speak on the issue of Biafra. They can do anything they want to do. We will continue to build and we will continue to excel wherever you are as a Biafran. The only thing that will make them not to succeed is what you do and what I do. But if we refuse to do nothing, they will succeed and they will overrun us. So wherever you are watching, I urge you in the name of Chukwu Okekabia, you must prepare yourself. We must prepare to counter this narrative of the Janjaweed. No matter the amount of dollars they spread around, no matter the amount of dollar they throw around, if we stand our ground, they cannot succeed. If we stand firm, they cannot succeed. If we continue to be on the right path, they will never succeed. That is why I encourage every Biafran wherever you are. The battle is before us. We have gone too far to go back. We have done a lot. And the message is not only for Biafra. Anybody in that contraption that cares about humanity, even if you are not a Biafran, but you care about human life, time has come for everybody to weigh in. They are trying everything humanly possible from east, west, north, and south, from all angles, both international and local. They are raising their ugly head from all corners, from all angles. But we will not stop talking. And nothing will make us stop talking about our freedom. Nothing will make us stop talking about our freedom. Nothing will make us to give up our freedom. We will never, ever give up our freedom. Not in this life, not in the next life, and definitely not in the life to come. We will never give up our freedom. The freedom we have fought so much to get. The sacrifice we have made and continue to make. We will not throw it away simply because of propaganda and blackmail. This is not the time to fear. This is not the time to gossip. This is not the time to blackmail. This is not the time for infighting. This is not the time to abuse your brother or your sister. This is the time for unity. This is the time for us to look inward, appreciate each other, encourage each other. Be consistent and focus on that area you know you can do better. Every one of us have areas where we can perform better. You have area you can perform better. I have area I can perform better. Whichever area you know you can perform better, please get busy and start doing something now, not tomorrow. I pray that Chukwu Okike will give us that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to do what we have to do. Our evening program is always a word of encouragement. After the word of encouragement, then we will go to their conventional media to hear what they are saying, debunk those we can debunk, agree with those we can agree, expose those we can expose. That is what we do every evening. And this evening, we are going into it. Let us get into the business of the day. And let us see what they have for us. And I pray that Chukwu Okike will give us the strength, will give us the power to overcome the challenges, the attack that is coming from all angles, from all corners, as we shall always overcome.
Some reactions to our lead story that we took yesterday. Of course, that was all about the report from the New York Times. Now, the International Society for Civil Liberties and Rule of Law, that's Inter-Society, has accused the New York Times of falsifying parts of its report that told how the United States relied on its often, and I quote, unverified information to assert claims of a Christian genocide in Nigeria. In the report published on Sunday, the New York Times said Emeka Umeagbalasi, Inter-Society founder, admitted that he often does not verify his data, amongst other allegations discrediting his research. Well, in a statement on Monday, Inter-Society accused the American newspaper of spinning a perfidy of lies in its report. The statement, co-signed by Umeagbalasi and other Inter-Society officials, said that it was shocked and totally disappointed at the lies injuriously credited to the organization, saying they were never part of the interview that lasted for not less than 3 hours. They said, and I quote, New York Times lied when it falsely claimed that our board chair admitted that he often does not verify his data, the statement reads. The organization listed its data collection processes, allegedly mentioned during the interview, to include primary or directly generated and secondary or indirectly or third-party generated. The statement concluded by saying Ume Agbalasi is proudly a successful, lawful, and legitimate screwdriver salesman. And just to add to that, we've also seen some solidarity reports, solidarity statements from other organizations, specifically equipping the persecuted USA. And equipping the persecuted USA are saying, in essence, and I quote, "The story told in that New York Times article is not just wrong, it is an injury added to an open wound. It tries to turn survivors into suspects, truth-tellers into propagandists, and a decade of blood into a clever narrative to be managed by consultants in Washington and Abuja. It will not stand." So, just a expected reply from that New York Times article that we discussed at great length yesterday, and a number of issues that we had already pointed out. But good to see that Mr. Ume Agbalasi has now made his response. Dr. Abati.
Okay, well, there is a right of reply, there is a right of feedback. And then that story, of course, published in the Washington Post, I think January 18, was quite sensational, because the story went to conclude that President Trump acted on the basis of the intelligence provided by New York Times, by information provided by a trader in screwdrivers and wrenches in the Onitsha market. And I said that could be potentially provocative, given the delicate balance of religious and ethnic sentiments in Nigeria. And now the gentleman that was mentioned in that story has now said many of the things that were reported were not the things that he told the reporter, who was named as the West African bureau chief of the New York Times, Ruth McLean. And she was accompanied by two other persons, a Kwara State Christian photographer and a reporter for This Day newspaper, Dave Ileke, who is well known reportedly to the particular gentleman that is on the screen. So they have now said, well, the inter-society chieftain did not say that Muslims were being, Christians were being massacred. And what he said was that both Muslims and Christians are victims of persecution, and also that, generally, the reporter, Ruth McLean, put words into his mouth and also lied about the data that was provided. The main argument is that, look, they're not a media outfit, they're just a civil society group collecting data about religious persecution in Nigeria. Well, the devil is in the details. I think yesterday, the point was raised about not blaming the journalists, and I said, no, I didn't want to go after New York Times, so that it doesn't look like dog is trying to eat dog. But I made a point that I hope that this is not another Janet Cook story. In 1981, Janet Cook, a journalist, PA journalist, reporting for the Washington Post, wrote a story about an 8-year-old Jimmy said to be heroin addict. Now that story was submitted for the Pulitzer Prize for feature writing. And Janet Cook went on to win the prize. But it was then discovered that that story was fabricated. And then, of course, that prize had to be taken from her. Now, journalists are not in the business of fabrication. They are not screwdriver traders, tying things up, screwing things down and up. No, they are in the business of reporting factual information, accuracy, balance, fairness, ethical reporting. So journalistic ethics will seem to be at issue here. And it's not enough for the inter-society members, about 3 of them signed their rebuttal. They should go ahead and protest officially to the New York Times and to say that your Ruth McLean was writing, combining fiction with facts. And from the point of view of journalistic ethics, the onus is on the New York Times to take up the matter and probably to also offer, an explanation or an apology if, an ethical case, is established. So we now have two sides of the story, from the inter-society leaders and also the report, evidential report from New York Times. I think as the public, we need to know what exactly the truth is. And this does not negate my submission yesterday that the Nigerian government should also investigate this matter. Because journalists of all sorts, whether they are parachute or resident journalists, cannot just come to Nigeria and fabricate stories. The grey aspect of it, however, is the allegation by the speakers from Inter-Society that perhaps this has something to do with the $4.5 million lobbying contract that Nigeria they engaged in, and now that story was being used to cook up stories for the Nigerian government. That in itself is a strong indictment, of New York Times, and New York Times has an obligation to defend its own integrity. Okay. Oh no, the pronunciation is not very correct. What is the integrity?
So, a couple of things. When a matter like this is back and forth, it beholds on New York Times, because I'm not sure that New York Times, with its capacity, will have done that 3-hour interview as they claim without recording it. Yeah. We'd like to see the recording at some point to be able to clarify the facts. But as regards also journalism and spinning stories and all of that, the advice is always stay on the side of facts. Dr. Abasi, as regards your story, let me now tell you a very funny story of Janet Cook. Isn't it shocking? Very briefly, isn't it shocking that Janet Cook, that the Pulitzer Prize was withdrawn from for telling lies? The man Gongo that the prize was named after, Joseph Pulitzer, was known to be the father of yellow journalism. He was needling society. It was needling society. He was fabricating. He was telling lies. In fact, it was to clear his name, to repair his image. But I think the most important thing and a point I want to make here is trying to ascribe all that happened to this screwdriver salesman is wrong. Yes. I'll give you a list quickly.
Very quickly.
Very quickly. You guys eat out of my time with the other stories. Please.
No, we're not doing time sharing. Go ahead.
I want to give you these charities I'm going to call are charities that have been working in the northern part of Nigeria for a while. And that's why I'm happy that you read Francis Tor's message as regards, because it's also a weakness in your water. Catholic Relief Services, Global Christian Relief, Christian Mission Aid, Call of Hope, Christian Solidarity International, Faith Alive, Voice of Matter International Christian Concern, Sing USA. These are charities that are already working with churches in the northern part of Nigeria, and they jolly well do get data as regards incidents like this. So it's a concert of effort, and that's why a survivor of your water does also testify to the foreign committee in the House in America. Frank Oto issued that message, and also the Archbishop of Makoti, like I said before, also issued that message. So we should be clear as regards that. I think this was just a very bad one.
Yes. And I think more than anything, this is a huge call to the Nigerian government to ensure that we get more serious about data collection and that we have our own, sovereign set of data collection.
But we have the NBS. The last time the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics released data on kidnapping numbers in this country, you know how the security forces stepped in and they said that data was phony.
Which is why I say we have to be serious about verifiable and factual data. Well, let's move to another issue that went viral yesterday as a diesel tanker toppled over on the Tin Can Liverpool Bridge in Apapa, Lagos, triggering a rush by residents and passers-by to collect the highly combustible fuel spilling from the vehicle. Now, witnesses said the tanker capsized during Monday's early morning rush hour, with traffic management officials absent from the scene when the incident was first reported. Videos showed people converging on the site with jerry cans and containers of various shapes and sizes to collect the spilled product. The Lagos State Traffic Management Authority announced on X that emergency responders had contained the situation and reopened the affected route. They said the road on Liverpool Bridge in Wedapapa that was cordoned off has been reopened after the contents have been neutralized by men of Lagos State Fire Service. LASMA officials are also doing the needful, and traffic is expected to move better while we wait the arrival of a tow truck that was yesterday. Now, of course, the bridge was also cordoned off, and the counterflow traffic was controlled. Vehicular movement remained slow. That's what the agency had to say. But this incident mirrors previous fuel scooping episodes across Nigeria that have resulted in deadly explosions. Not the first time we're seeing these type of scenes. If you remember, in October 2024, there were more than 100 people that perished after a petrol tanker burst into flames along the Kano-Hadejia Expressway in Jigawa State. But let's take a look at some tweets. This tweet from Ogochukwu, who says this video of people scooping fuel from an overturned tanker was taken this morning at Tin Can Liverpool Bridge at Papa Lagos. Frankly, it is difficult to understand how people still rush to scoop fuel each time a tanker falls, despite the many lives that have been lost in similar incidents. For me, this is not bravery or smartness, it is a deadly risk. No amount of fuel is worth a human life. One spark is enough to turn that place into a mass grave. Our people need to value their lives more than momentary gain. Fuel can be replaced, human life cannot. From the side of the government too, we need stronger public education, quicker emergency response, and better systems for conveying inflammables. Now, still on the aftermath of the story, traffic safety concerns have resurfaced at the Liverpool Bridge in Apapa, Lagos, following an incident involving a fully loaded 40-foot diesel tanker that skidded off part of the bridge. According to the organizing secretary of the Association of Truck Owners Kirikiri Development Initiative, DK Kene Collins, overspeeding was the primary cause of the accident. And he noted that accidents involving these loaded trucks are frequent on the Liverpool Bridge, and expressed concern over the delays in implementing safety measures announced by Lagos State government, which of course includes several things, amongst them compressed natural gas trucks and improved driver safety programs. And of course, strengthening driver training. But Rufai, these images are images we see time and time again. Let's hear what they have to say.
We urge the government, the state government, the federal government, whoever that is responsible, that there is an urgent need to come and look at the structure of this place. And in the interim, there's supposed to be speed breakers on top of this bridge, and there are no signs. This is something that has been reoccurring. It's a persistent reoccurrence on this particular spot that we are talking about. Sometime last year, it killed people here. We have videos to back up that fact. This particular place, this particular call. So we urge the state government, continuous training and retraining of drivers, the eyesight. There are so many policies that we've had from the Lagos State government. We expect them to urgently kick into start the programs they have for drivers, training, even the safety awareness, whatever they have, both the eyesight training and all have you, so that this kind of things can be nipped in the bud. Because thank God that no life was lost here, but look at the value of the property being lost. We urge the government to facilitate and fast track whatever program they have.
The emergency response was not very swift due to equipment. The deployment of equipment did not come on time as expected, because it's expected that at a situation like this, all the emergency equipment would have been deployed to site in the next 1 hour. But look at time, this is about 12:30, since maybe 7 o'clock in the morning. It does not really speak well of our emergency response plan. The motor boy sustained a minor injury. The driver sustained a minor injury. And thank goodness it wasn't a PMS truck, because the market down the bridge would have, more than 300 people would have gone.
Lagos State is working together with so many agencies on this corridor. From now on, I think we are going to enter into a collaboration with them to effectively monitor and take into record a situation like this we have recorded here and develop strategy which will be communicated with all other stakeholders, so that we won't be having this kind of a thing again.
To Kuje prison and now to DSS custody. This is the story of Abubakar Malami, who has surrendered himself to the Department of State Services following days of tension surrounding his stalled bail and heavy security presence at the Kuje Correctional Center in Abuja. The former Attorney General of the Federation decision comes after his continued detention, despite meeting bail conditions, triggered widespread attention and concern. Of course, his confinement had turned into a major security issue, with movements around the correctional facility tightly controlled for several days. Now, let's take a look at some responses from Twitter, reactions. Dapsy tweeted and said, "Where are the others before Malami? They were dragged and we have now moved on from all the court drama. They are now forgotten and left to enjoy the huge percentage left of their loot. They drag these people for a show and the whole process gathers dust in an obscure court. The strategy is to loot massively, get a slap on the wrist and 20% back to the government in forfeitures. In a few months, the noise dies down, they reinvent themselves as godfathers, sponsor candidates or their children into juicy offices. We keep on going round in circles." Well, David Osadolo had a different view. He said this is so wrong. The fact that Malami did it when he was in power doesn't mean this government must repeat this terrible behavior. But Dr. Abati, as you said earlier, he's innocent until proven guilty. However, the grace extended to public figures in Nigeria and just around the world around issues surrounding corruption specifically has started to wane, as people see sort of what they feel are the excesses of public office. And so when these court cases come around, most people, especially public opinion, does rush to do its own, public trial. Your thoughts on the movements around?
There is what is called a global integrity framework, which deals with all forms of corruption, whether it's high corruption, it's called grand corruption, or the lower level corruption. Where corruption is corruption. But the experience in Africa is that senior officials of state, big men, big women tend to get away with it. But you are right. There is a trend in enforcing integrity frameworks. That's why you have bodies like Transparency International. And in all these jurisdictions, the principle is that nobody is above the law. Whether you were king yesterday or you were prime minister the other day, that integrity framework holds you accountable. So the key words are transparency and accountability. Even for persons who enjoy immunity while in office, they can still be questioned when that immunity has faded. The second point is about the fact that nobody is above the rule of law. Wherever you are, everyone is under the umbrella of law, and the law, stipulates certain duties, certain obligations, certain expectations, so that society is not a chaotic place where people just do as they like. The third point is that no condition is permanent. You can be the big cock today, tomorrow you can just be a small fly, by the wall, and that is what we see in many of these, big cases that we have had in Nigeria. Here is Mr. Malami SAS. He was Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, the Chief Law Officer of the Federation, one of the only ministerial position that is recognized in the Constitution. Bodies like EFCC, DSS, ICPC, they were at the time under his portfolio, and now it's those same agencies going after him. However, I conclude by saying that whoever it is that finds himself within the crosshairs of the law enforcement process in Nigeria, such a person is innocent until proven guilty. Such a person is entitled to fair hearing. Such a person is entitled to have his day in court and to have counsel, legal counsel of his own choice who can defend him. And the government of the day and the various agencies must refrain from victimization, persecution, or media trial. And the media has a role in this regard also, not to use their platforms to promote media trial and conviction before due process, an authorization of a court of competent jurisdiction.
Yes, those are the points. But I know some people on social media were saying there was an Uber DSS, a DSS Uber waiting for him outside Kuje Correctional Facility to whisk him away to his next destination. Anyway, let's look at some issues in Bayelsa State. As the Commissioner of Iyama, Daniel Edobo, has condemned the assault on a tricycle rider, popularly known as Ike, and has ordered the arrest of the officers involved. This was contained in a press statement signed by the command's Police Public Relations Officers DSP Musa Mohammed. The statement in parts reads, and I quote, "The attention of the Bayelsa State Police Command has been drawn to a viral video making the rounds on social media platforms, allegedly showing police officers assaulting the Ike driver. The Commissioner of Police, Bayelsa State Command, CP Iyama Daniel Edebo, has condemned the act in strong terms, describing it as unacceptable and contrary to professional policing standards. He reiterates that the command does not tolerate any form of human rights violation, unprofessional conduct, or brutality." All right, well, you saw the video. The officers involved have been arrested and disciplinary proceedings have been instituted. They've commenced in accordance with provisions of the Police Act. But we see this recurring incidents over and over again.
I'll send you a video of a child, the girl is probably less than 5 or 10, that was doing a video that says, "When I grow up, I want to be a police officer because they used to beat keke and collect money." I know they are good police officers, and I make a case for the good ones any day and time. But this is the bad example of the Nigerian police, and it ties all of them with a brush. If we investigate it, it can't be more than money. It can't be more. Is it what money will cause in this Nigerian poverty? It can't be more than money. People have gotten killed because police want to collect money from you. It can't be more than money. So we want the security forces to investigate. As regards the Malami case, Dr. Bati said they shouldn't do media trial. How will the media people show up if they don't do media trial? The essence of bringing the case in public is not to fight corruption. See, I don't know if you understand how Nigeria is. Let me explain it to you.
Say how the media in Nigeria chop
if there's no media trial, if there's no stories. So it is big man's story that they cause for corruption that is in Puji that sells. So let me tell you how it's done. A big man caught in corruption. A new government indicts him. They use it to catch trips for anti-corruption, like they are fighting corruption. But in the end, they know that they're not going to indict him. Because he'll still go through the law process one way or the other, the law will still let him go. So when that happens, they say they are fighting corruption. Can you show me, in this country, how many very big men conviction? There are not many. Except they have a proper vendetta against you. And so Nigeria, they now do this because they know that Nigeria likes institutional memory. Before you know it, after some point, they'll let you go. Didn't him, Malami himself, was the one that declared a null prosecute on a particular position that was a corruption case on because that one was running for Senate. When that one wanted to run for Senate president, when that one needed to do a deal with them, he did a deal with them.
Yes.
He stepped down and he moved for Vimbai, let me please, producer, I beg, let me just make this one. It's a very important point. So they will now wait after a period of time. They will see honor. It's not in this country that those that return Abacha youths are given very high honors in this country today. So it's not the intention. It's just they will do media trial, cast trips, and at the point they will leave you.
All right.
Our lawyer will eat.
Well, I like to say I'm not part of the media that's chopping in your analogy.
They sell the stories.
They sell the stories. Okay, if you put it that way. Well, let's see. EFCC and DSS. Let's see how both of those cases do pan out. Now, very quickly to another story where comedian Bovi took to his social media to post a video recounting the events that transpired 60 years ago during Nigeria's first military coup, as taken from the book Oil, Politics and Violence by Maxillian. However, this has sparked polarized debate as some feel that the account he shared was inaccurate.
The major casualties of this coup were from another part of the country. The major survivor of this coup was from a part of the country where these coup plotters come from. That is Agoy Ironsi, and he became president. On that day, something bad was born because the major leaders
in government, politics, right? We're from the part. So the young soldiers that were from all parts of the country were like, wait, why we say our leaders die? Finding other people who died in the coup. But why did our leaders die? And the only survivor amongst the leaders in the army, the only survivor is from the same place as those who planned the coup. So like I said, something bad was born.
Right, well, in a swift reaction to this, Reno Omokri penned a piece titled What Bovi Got Wrong About the January 15, 1966 Coup. And this is what he wrote. He said, yesterday I watched a video by the comedian Chris Asimoye Uboma, aka Bovi, detailing the events of January 15, 1966. I commend him for his narrative. However, there was one detail which he inadvertently misstated and which ought to be corrected, lest it pass into history, as some Nigerians have a propensity to substitute myth for fact. Contrary to popular wisdom, Major Chukwuma Nzeogu was not the mastermind of the coup, which today bears his name. In reality, the so-called Nzeogu coup was masterminded by Major Emmanuel Ifeajuna. Many Nigerians do not know that Nzeogu wrote letters, which may be termed as an uncompleted manuscript while in detention at Aba prison, detailing some of the events of that infamous day. The letters were mostly to his best friend, who would later become a Nigerian military head of state. Out of respect for him, I shall not mention his name. Well, several issues coming out of this. Where do I begin? Let me begin with you, Rufai.
So,
yes, go ahead. Yeah.
Thank God at the start of that video, what did Bobby say? He said he was quoting from Marx. So do I. That's a version of history. If you read Ademoyega, that's another version of history. Ifejuna was part of it. Yes, the role, what's it called, played in it, Cardinal Zego, was also big. Because you cannot forget that it was Ferdinand Zego that led the troops in the north to go attack the Southern. That road is also there. If you also read John Tom Jory's account, which I think is one of the most balanced, the Jory's account, which I think one of the most balanced accounts, what he also said is also a different account. If you read Philip Effiong's account, it's also different. I think Billy even wrote a book before he passed. It's another account. So there are different accounts. There's no one size fits all to this account, you know. But what we should also now talk when we are talking history and we're having these debates is also the role and sensationalism media played in all of this breakdown. Most notably, Drum magazine. I'm not sure there's even Drum again. Drum magazine. Sensationalism. And that's why when we look at conversations about race relations and all of that, we should be very careful because things can easily snowball. So you can't say there's one account that fits all of the narrative. There are different accounts. If you ask 5 people about the story, they'll tell you 5 different accounts.
Before we go to Nelson, sorry, Dr. Bati, I also just want you to add how do we get to the truth? If there are so many accounts, and who will accept the truth?
Okay, the literature is out there on the Nigerian Civil War, one of the most transformative experiences that Nigeria has had, both fictional and factual, and accounts by the persons who were direct architects of the issue. But I think where the problem lies is the attempt to give an ethnic coloration to that, either the Civil War or the January 15, 1966 coup. And that is where the problem lies. Now, some people say it's in Zogu school. Some people say it is a Juna school. The controversy is neither here nor there. All the persons that have been mentioned, whether it is Madiebo or Zogu or Anuforon or Ifeajuna, these were a team of young men, average age 30, 31 at the time. What they were attacking were failed systems in Nigeria, corruption in Nigeria, and they wanted a better country. It was not as if there was an ethnic plebiscite. It wasn't as if there was an ethnic plebiscite to organize that coup. In fact, Kaduna Izaogu in particular was Igbo, yes, but he was born and raised in Kaduna. He was more Hausa Fulani than others, and he thought what was happening in the country was not good enough. That's the first point. The second point, of course, is that if you read General Babangida's book, My Journey in Service, he devoted attention to this same issue about ethnic coloration, that the ethnic coloration is exaggerated, that this was not about ethnicity. This was a far more complex process by young men who wanted to change Nigeria. And I think that's the line, the trope that we should push 60 years after the fact. Instead of, all this Ifiajunaku, school, it's a level of emotional simplicity that shows ignorance and illiteracy, if I may add that.
Very beautifully said, and I hope we can continue to educate ourselves and the nation about history and the correct factual accounts. Now to milestones. We celebrate Chief Emeka Anyoku, a Nigerian diplomat and elder statesman who turned 93 years old on Sunday.
We compile data from within Truth Nigeria. We compile data from several sources, and we have launched what we call the Nigeria Terror Tracker. And this is an interactive map that shows you who did the killing, where the killing happened, geolocated information about each and every attack.
Still talking insecurity, the Nigerian army has categorically dismissed reports circulating online that soldiers were plotting a mutiny over 4K and welfare, branding the claims as false, misleading, and deliberately sensational. In a strongly worded statement issued on January 19, 2026, the acting director of the Army Public Relations, Colonel Apollonia Anele, stressed that mutiny is a grave offense under military.
Nigeria has been rocked by yet another wave of terror as armed militants abducted more than 163 worshippers during church services in Kaduna State. A chilling escalation confirmed by the Northern Christian Association of Nigeria, CAR, where the horrified ordeal has been compounded by reports from Kaduna State, where a woman whose husband was killed by kidnappers was forced to give birth in captivity, underscoring the human tragedy behind the statistics. Viral footage on social media shows distressed families pleading for government intervention, while communities across the north remain gripped by fear as bandits tighten their stronghold on daily life. Well, the abductions come amid mounting political controversy, with opposition figures sitting on revelations that U.S. intelligence on Sokoto airstrike exposed lapses in the Tinubu administration handling of security operations, branding the government as curious and out of touch with the realities of ordinary Nigeria. Well, we've enjoyed the video here to help us make sense of this development by Prince Francis Chilaka, is a political affairs analyst and communicator. Good morning, Prince, and thanks for joining us. We appreciate your presence. Thank you. I'm already blushing here.
Maybe you are trying those who are nothing people.
I wish I could.
There's a lot of money to be made.
Yes, look,
we're talking about lucrative, very lucrative. We're talking about poverty. This money getting from hand to mouth.
I want to take it.
At the risk of getting their lives. They just signed the suicide note and they entered into the streets.
But they didn't care. They didn't care
It's
because
poverty.
they were more concerned.
Poverty and
hunger. Because we were having the
poverty and hunger. A man who has 5 kids, he has to pay school fees. He sees an opportunity to get 5 kegs of diesel. Each one he sells at 30,000. That's already 150,000.
Oh, it's an ongoing debate, and somehow we will have to arrive at a point sometime. Well, we could also be before I introduce. Let me just say that I'm not going to get into kidnapping.
Second thought.
No, second thought. That was in the right time. As a matter of fact, a lot of people try to survive either by hook or by crook. But I would prefer to go the good way, not the crook way. Unfortunately for me, that is what it is. So let me bring in Mr. Elvis Himezeme. Elvis is a political affairs analyst and he joins on the show this morning. Good morning, Mr. Good to have you.
Elvis Himezeme.
Now, we have also been joined virtually by Mr. Babatunde Awe is a legal practitioner and political and public affairs analyst. Good morning to you, Mr. Awe, and thanks for joining us. Okay, I understand that we have audio connection problem. You will join us in the course of the show. Okay, Mr. Awe, I would like for you to unmute your device so that we can get your audio feed. Okay, beautiful. We've also been joined from our upper outstation by Sir Chuka Anabute. Sir Anabute is the MD, Anambra State Civic and Social Information Office, and CISO. He's a political and public affairs analyst. Good morning to you, Mr. Anabute, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Chukuma. Good morning, Moses, and good morning, Fino.
Good morning to you too.
Good to have you.
It's not Fino on the table. It's Jane on the table.
Okay.
But, yes.
Now, beautiful. Let's get into it. Please, let me come to you. 160 people. We have a number different. Some people are saying over 100. Some people are saying 150 and all of that. But the information we have is that people were kidnapped, worshippers were kidnapped in Kano State. In the midst of this search, these terrorists have doubled down, despite the fact that we saw guns blazing on the 25th of December 2025, where Trump had to take out scores of terrorists in some parts of the Northwest. So, to be very precise. How will you describe what happened in Sokoto? Does it look like these people are baying and say, oh, well, Mr. Trump, come, we are ready for you? Like, you recall that Jay Gumi once said that for each Muslim that you kill, that the terrorists are going to unleash mayhem on Christians, on the Christian communities, on Christendom. Is that what we are seeing now? Help us understand all that has happened in the past days or so.
Okay, let's start from what is blazing. What's blazing? And then we ask ourselves, when Trump talked about coming to Nigeria to help fight these terrorists, what was the position of the Nigerian government? The position is no, we don't want. Just give us support, give us arms, give us ammunition. So the government over time gave the impression that they were in charge, they control. And because of that, what you had that played out on the 25th of December was just a test run. It was a test run. And after the test run, what happened? Don't forget that after hours of Trump tweeting, the government now came and said, we gave the intel. And I'd like to underline that, we gave the intel. And then one question that came up in then is, you give an intel, at what point did you understand, on what point did the Nigerian government know that Sokoto was harboring like a headquarters of the state? So it's like cat and dog right now. And the government has failed to be honest and sincere with the Nigerian. And until the government wakes up from that slumber, things will not happen. We're talking about 100 people. It takes us back to Chibok girls, not one. It takes us back to Dapchi girls, take two. It takes us to Niger State. And now it takes us to Katsina State. We're talking of numbers, 100. Okay, how are these people moved? Are we saying that by the time these 100 people are being moved, the community around where they were kidnapped from, everyone goes to sleep? We don't hear the footsteps. We don't hear any noise. Nobody moves. It's like we use AI. These guys use AI to come up with a tunnel where they all enter and disappear.
Okay. Now, Prince, you have asked a very pertinent question. People in the community, if they don't know about what would they do? Wouldn't they run for their own lives?
In the process of running, you cannot tell me that you will run from here all the way to mile 2 without seeing a police checkpoint, or without seeing a police station, or without seeing an army checkpoint. Knowing the fact that these areas right now are volatile. People are living in fear. I had thought that Kaduna State had come out of it, because that was the pressure we're given. That they had an understanding with these guys. Why we are all talking about this kidnapping and all of that. Look at the nonsense going on in Katsina State, where the governor is bent on releasing 70 terrorists. I'm still going to show you that there seems to be a kind of connivance between these terrorists and government officials.
Okay, more like complete.
That's what it is. Okay. Because for me, I feel so bad that somebody who has killed, maimed, sent people to IDP camps, you want to release them. You say that you are looking for peace. And that's what you say. Peace without justice is peace of the graveyard.
Without justice is peace of the graveyard. But before we go to our virtual guest, let's bring in Mr. Elemikele. And you see a situation where there is a spike, an escalation, on the number of kidnappings. And I'd like for us to talk about, the resurgence, especially going into an election year. And the fact that these things are happening in some parts of the country, especially the north. Are we trying to, is it a replay of what happened in 2015, where there was a sense of, the president cannot protect his people, and so because of that, he has to walk away? Is that what we are saying? Is there a replay of 2016?
Yeah, it's more like that. You see, that's why I keep telling you that there are designers, there are people who are behind it, put insurgency. These people they have a game that they are playing. It doesn't make sense. American game and since the game never we have, I was actually thinking of having something in Nigeria. Then we have the market situation that went to market in Nigeria. Then we have this one again now. So the architects who are behind this insurgency in this nation, they are taking the game. Yeah, we are this 2026 actually the election. That's why that election is this is the preparation of the election. More of this will happen.
Okay, now more of this will happen. If you have established that it's a replay of 2027, where these elements had their way, they were able to, change the narrative. Say, the president Jonathan cannot protect Nigeria, so he has to leave. I would like for you to now juxtapose it between Jonathan and Bola Ahmed Tinubu. If you understand their personalities, their idiosyncrasies and all of that, do you think that it's something that might happen again in 2027? Do you think that Tinubu could be taken out simply because, he's unable to protect Nigeria, there is trouble in the land everywhere? It's something that can replace.
Mr. Kuru, if you look at what is going on in Nigeria, most of when you do some of this and what they keep telling you is that Tinubu does not deserve it. That's what is going on. They are not telling Nigerians that these are the reasons for all. This is the reason what they are coming to do better. But all they are saying is that Tinubu must go. This was exactly how that campaign was so significant to Jonathan. Remember it? Yes. And Jonathan was invoking that. That's when I saw this cross-carpeting and endorsement. I keep looking at.
Now, my direct question is: do you think that these elements will be able to go through this the second time with the personality of Bola Ahmed?
What is the personality? Do you know who these elements are working with? You don't know who they are working with. These elements are people who have been able to hold this station now for 16 good years since this insurgency started, and they are not reneging. They get stronger every day. They are working stronger on daily basis. One would have even expected that after the America came in December, would have said that it's a respite. But we have seen the resurgence of it.
Okay.
Which means these elements are crossing around and they know what they are doing.
All right, we'll come back to what should have been when America came in, and let's take this conversation now to Sachuka Nabife. Now, Sachuka, there's a bit of conflicting information. I would like for us to, reason, think about it, and seek out some sort of understanding
of this conflicting information. First, the chairperson of CAN in Kajuru area where this kidnapping took place, is saying, look, about 172 people were kidnapped, 9 of them escaped, and then in the process, they took the rest away. And the church, he says, are trying to come up with the list of those that were kidnapped. Now that is on one side. The commissioner of police in that area, I think his name is Mohammed Rabiu, said the information that was pushed out is false. According to him, when he heard about the attack, he mobilized policemen to the area and they didn't see any evidence of kidnapping. You know, they looked at the churches, there was no evidence. I don't know the evidence they were looking for, maybe blood. They didn't see any evidence. Also, the local government chairman, Dauda Madaki, is saying the same thing, that it's just rumor to make the government look bad. Now, what do you make of this conflicting information? CAN, representative of CAN, the chairperson of CAN in that local government area, is saying, look, people were kidnapped and we're coming up with the list. The police and local government chairman are saying no such thing happened. What is the danger in such conflicting information?
Well, there is everything is about the danger, but actually I would like to talk about the consequences most likely, the outcome, the feedback, and the ultimate implication on the feedback. That's how I want to take it. The implication is that the issue of the kidnap could be fake news, could be a false narrative, or a sensationalized news. That is what the police has established. Now, what the Christian Association of Nigeria, their local cell is establishing is that there was a kidnap, and that the kidnap happened, and as many as 172 and 9 or 8 escaped. Yes. So then there is a hunger there. The hunger there is where are those 9 persons that escaped. They will establish whether there was a kidnap or no kidnap. That is one. 2 is that police could actually be saying the wrong thing or the right thing, in as much as they are alleging that it is false. What do I mean by saying the right thing? They could be saying the right thing because they are the ones who are supposed to give you and I the right information about crime, like that. And they say they visited the crime scene and didn't see any evidence of crime. It could be foreclosing something or establishing something. But then, the local people, the Christian Association have done that. Then what could be the outcome of all these things? Or the outcome of all these things will be by checking who is trying to please who. Remember, currently in Nigeria, there's an intense proceeding of the American intervention, the Trump intervention, as regards the government's inability to protect Christians, particularly Christians in the north, or persecuting Christians, if you want to put it in that way. So would it be that somebody is trying to play to that script to show that Christians are being persecuted? That could be from the angle of what police is trying to establish on the end of the Christian Association leader. The other end is that could it be that this is a political game, like Elvis has alleged in his video there? Could it be that this is a political game to show the lack of competence or inability or lack of willingness of the security agents and law enforcement authorities to protect Christians? Then that could be for political reasons heading towards 2027. It is all these narratives are what are being played. But if you ask me plainly, I think there was a because 172 persons are not. It's not easy to wish away. They have left a hangar for any investigative journalist to do, and that is who are these 9 persons that escaped? Where are they? They will establish whether they were in charge or that happened or didn't happen. All right. So I think we should be. Police can be playing the ostrich, or the Christian Association can be playing the sensationalist, magnifying it to fit their narrative.
All right, thank you very much, Sanchuka Nabife. Prince, with the police rushing to the scene, doesn't it make it even more difficult for private investigators to investigate, seeing that probably shells of the bullets fired into the air may have been taken out? I mean, that's a narrative that some people are saying. If the police rushed to the scene and are reporting that there was no evidence, could it be that they took out shells and probably, hid the evidence and is saying, and then where does this leave us really with conflicting information?
Well, the conflicting information you have is because of trust deficit between the people and the police. Nobody would take anything said by the police seriously anymore. Why?
But let's look at something that Sanchuka, sorry, please. What he also pointed out, the narrative being pushed out there, that, to buttress the fact that Christians are truly attacked, as this might further encourage American invasion of some sort.
I think we seem to play politics with our lives, or the lives of Nigerians, so to say. If you're not in a war zone, you will not understand how people in the war zone feel. And so when people tell you there's a kidnapping, there are some conspiracy theories that cannot work. If you're telling me that 4 people were kidnapped, you understand. But if you're telling me that 100 people were kidnapped, going by the way kidnapping is done in Nigeria, going by the way that, okay, I'll take you a region. Kwara State, remember when church was attacked? The police first of all said,
absolutely, yes.
So these are reasons why people don't trust the police anymore. And the police rushing to the scene is unheard of. It's like Nigerian police, rushing to the scene. And why is it that the police will only get to the scene after the crime has been committed? So for me, I believe that to a large extent, people were kidnapped. Maybe not in that number, but I believe that I don't think anybody would wake up and say they kidnapped people and go to bed. No. Something happened with that incident. Maybe we don't have all the details, but something definitely happened. And I don't think the church has gotten to that level of, lying. The church has not gotten to that level. And why would anybody want to lie? Knowing that if you're arrested for lying, you've committed a crime. So it's now a war between crime and the police. And obviously, the local government chairman, who do you expect him to sign?
Well, Prince, don't you think we should be worried that this situation has been so normalized that that in saner crime, when we have repeated failures like that, there should be resignation. Some people should be punished. But we also have, on the other hand, we also know that a lot of communities are very sympathetic to these guys. So sometimes I wonder, is it because of fear, or because we can't say that we lack intelligence?
Well, when you say is it because of fear, the first thing you should ask yourself is, there are people, Nigerians today, living in IDP camps. We're not talking about 100, we're talking about thousands living in different IDP camps in the north. These people did not migrate from Lagos to those camps. These are people who have ancestral homes, and they've been chased away from their ancestral homes. Who are those occupying those ancestral homes? So if government is saying that they're in charge, why have they not been able to relocate these people back to their ancestral? So it's difficult for government to claim that they're in charge. They're not in charge. You heard the Minister of Defense saying that anyone who is sympathetic to a thief is also a thief. And then I'm asking, Katsina State Governor, is he a thief? Is he a terrorist? Because he's being sympathetic. You want to take people who have been arrested and you say you want to use them for negotiations. Is it the duty of the government to enter social negotiations? Don't forget that what you have playing out now, the moment an issue has been declared as terrorist, it is a federal government, federal mind. Why is federal government not speaking? Why is it that the president has not called the Katsina State government and said, this thing you want to do, you cannot do it? Why are they keeping silent?
All right, thank you very much. Prince, Mr. Elimehele, let's compare this to the St. Mary's Catholic Church kidnap, where some students managed to escape. And initially, there was this confusion as to whether they escaped, whether they were let off. And then also the conversation around how many of them can we ask what truly happened. Do you think people that escape might want to come out and say, yes, I was part of those kidnapped, but I managed to escape? Do you think they feel their life will be safe if they do so?
Yeah, I can't remember that we're talking of church now and not school. Let's even believe that these people that escaped are more adult. The very well children.
Yes, talking about that, there was also a report that the kidnappers released certain people that were frail.
Yes, free.
They were frail.
Yes.
They released them.
Yes.
But now we're hearing that they escaped.
Yes. At least, even if they were free or not, at least let's believe that they are adults. Probably those ones that were free are kind of like old and sickly persons. These persons have to be looked for. So, take this back and forth between the police.
And you think they would want to speak?
I will not know brotherhood here. This is church. No brotherhood. Muslim. This is church. And this church, is it in the desert? Is it in the forest? Is it in the village?
Apparently, if you want to go by the reports, they came, shot into the air, and rounded up the people and took them into the bush. So it's easy to assume that the church or the churches, as it were,
exactly.
Understand? Yes, that they share a boundary with a bush path.
Even at that, there will have been habitants before the church could locate that area. People must have been living here. Not even talking of 140 persons. Do you know what it means to move 100? Even 30.
Yeah, but we've seen there
was no case that all people arise at all. Why is the police so hasty in giving us such information that there was nothing like that? What preliminary investigation have been done before they came to that conclusion that there was nothing like that for that area? The villagers should also be asked, did you see any skirmish movement around?
What if the information was false? What if that information was false? Shouldn't the police say something immediately?
For over 170 persons, they are not talking of two people. They say, oh, it's a lie. They look at it on their way to the church. We're talking about they came into the church. Why are we trying to see long things that we have seen before now?
I was trying to relate the Chibok thing because you recall that at some point.
That was what happened.
At some point in Chibok, Shetima said there was
kidnapped.
Is that what we're experiencing again?
Exactly, because since that time, this narrative has already been established in this nation. Remember after the Chibok, before the Chibok, we have the Buniyadi boys. Those boys that were murdered in their hostel in their school. This was how it was an issue. What was the number? Was really true until their parents cried out. Now we are saying, why is it many times something as magnitude of this nation happened to Nigeria? The only narrative we hear is that it's a lie, it's not true, or the number is not to that number. These are the things we keep hearing. Why is it that we can't take our information and take what we are going through? You see, some people will tell you, American government overstep their bounds when we cannot put our own very minute thing of, a certain person, number of persons. There's some other persons are now trying to help us to go to say what supports American business in this.
All right, then let's get the thoughts of other individuals on this panel this morning. We have Ramatunde Aware Expire. Good to have you, journalist, public affairs commentator as well. Good morning to you. Good morning, sir. It's been a pleasure to be here. And now, tell us, please, what are your thoughts on this? I understand that you've been following the conversation so far.
Yes, I have.
Go ahead.
Thank you, President. But for me, it's a little more than a little distressing that we continue to have these episodes occurring over and over and over and over again. It's, of course, an indictment on our security operatives. People say security architecture, but there really doesn't appear to be any architects. You don't have architecture without architects. So the so-called architects for our security are, in my view, completely failing us. In every conflict zone, you have areas that are considered hotspots. So those so-called hotspots must be carefully monitored at all times, especially when you have repeated recurrence of incidents of a particular nature occurring in those areas. Now, the southern Kaduna is a place I'm very, very familiar with. Kafanchan, Kajuru, Kachia, all those areas are places I'm very, very familiar. I traveled those areas. I've traveled them very broadly. I've worked very extensively in those areas as a lawyer. And it's happening that for over, I would say since late 2014, we're having numerous incidents of this nature. And to date, we've not been able to manage them. So these are, they of course definitely live the lifespan.
When you say since 2014, we're having numerous incidences of this nature, are you talking about incidences of this nature in Kajuru area?
Yes.
Or Kajuru?
No. Violence against particular religious
in that area.
Not just Kajuru, Kachia, Kafacha, all those.
That negates the statement. That negates the statement of the local government chairman, Daudu Madaki, who says, "Look, this information is put out there to disrupt the relative peace that they are experiencing in that area."
Well, I don't have intelligence about the exact happenings on the ground, but we follow reports. For us, make analysis, we follow reports. We look at the persons making the reports and the sources of these reports. We have reports coming from families. Particular families were named. A particular family was named. 4 particular individuals were named. A husband, a wife, and a child, and a visiting person, a guest in their home. 4 persons were named. The individuals, they were named in that particular incident, right? And the particular organization responsible for the welfare of persons who were attacked, that's the Christian Organization of Nigeria. Christian Association of Nigeria, they gave us a report and gave us near specific figures. They said over 160 were abducted. Those names are being compiled. So it's of course it's natural for crisis be managed where the nature of casualties or the number of casualties is the downplay is everywhere in the world. That is done.
Okay, all right. All right, I was talking about managing this crisis. In the course of your intervention, you said we've been finding it difficult to manage this crisis over a period of 14, 15 years. Now, we have a situation where we are in the midst of insecurity. I'm talking about the management. We have a federal government, that has chosen to manage it differently, like go to the United States of America, pay a huge amount of money, like $9 million, over what they are going to pay over $9 million for you to help punish Nigeria's image before they become administration. So do you think that that's a good way of managing this crisis, rather than look at the underlying causes, root causes, that we are Isn't a whole amount of money to bodies our event? Is it a track that will help us in the end of the war? What's your reaction to that management model?
Well, it's like a man that is dying of hunger suddenly getting 30 million naira and he goes down and buy lectures. You understand? So it's just for me, those funds. Of course, there's no government, even the government of the United States that we see copy a lot. They do a lot of, they pay a lot of money to lobbies, right? All over the world for all kinds of arrangements that they seek to get to push a narrative in respect of. So naturally, yes, we must lobby. And lobbying is not cheap. Because lobbying is deep. Lobbying goes to some of the highest levels of the government, right? And those arrangements must be settled consultants to pursue those lobbying arrangements. However, if you look at the cost of providing a simple area surveillance, by roads, or creating arrangements that can raise any money systems. Some of the most elementary arrangements that can pursue. You know how many thousands of guards, how many thousands of hunters, how many thousands of local experts you understand can be hired with $9 million? It's incredible. The point I'm making is that yes, lobbying is understandable. However, we are overlooking some of the most fundamental security structural arrangements, particularly the military. Attacks continue to come and pour in against a particular community. You should understand if you have rats coming to your house, there is a particular location the rats penetrate your house from. Identify it and plug it, and the rats are gone. If once you plug it and the rats are inside the house, pursue them and eliminate them in the house using rat poisons or traps or whatever. But identify they can't keep coming. There must be a route through which they penetrate this community. It's not everywhere that is penetrated. There's something called counterinsurgency.
All right,
okay. But you are able to move the location through which they attack. You are able to make arrangements to counter their.
Of course, our security agencies should know all of this. Well, thank you very much, Now let's go to Comrade Ibrahim Momo. Good morning to you. Welcome to the conversation. We've kept you waiting for quite some time. But now you're a human rights activist, and you do a whole lot of other things, including being a lecturer and the rest. Now, what are the dangers of such information coming out and such denial? We're talking about lives now, lives of people. Because if truly people were kidnapped and relevant agencies, the police or local government chairman is saying none of that happened, then where does that put the lives of those that were kidnapped? And the other okay, go ahead.
Yeah, the first point is the level of information flow is also very challenging. How is it that first information is coming from CAN and not from the government or the security services? It speaks to poor information. So if it's a security issue, ordinarily the government ought to be the first to tell us. Now, there's no business about the bush. The primary responsibility of government is the protection of lives and properties of the citizenry. It appears that in this basic responsibility, government perennially has failed us. And that one is something that we must put, in perspective. This issue of this latest information of whether there was or not the kidnapping incident is just one of several or very many instances of kidnapping that have occurred. Yes, it's a given that there are fifth columnists, there are violent entrepreneurs, there are people who benefit from this kind of information. Yes, but government role of securing that property on a broad scale, evidentially, is an area the government has continuously failed the people. That is the whole point. Whether there was kidnapping or not, the council chairman and the security, the police are disputing. It's aside the issue. even if it eventually turns out that in this particular instance, there wasn't actually kidnapping, does it mean that we are safe? Does it mean the people of that community are carrying out safe? Because in this instance of there was a false alarm or a false flag, the answer is no. Insecurity becomes a major challenge, continues to be a major challenge that we are facing as a people. And then,
all right, go ahead, Dr. Ibrahim. Go ahead, Mr. Momo, go ahead.
Yeah, on the entire issue of whether there was a kidnapping or not, I think that there's still much work to be done before we can say definitively whether or not there was a kidnapping. Because even the CAN report, it's not to say they say they are still compiling, for example. About 8 or 9 were escaped or were released. You know, if you are sure 1 round from 2 were kidnapped, X number of persons escaped or were released, we should of course know how many people are remaining that have been kidnapped. Okay. Since we know that X number of people were originally kidnapped, and then another Y number of persons escaped or were released. So we should quickly do the math.
Okay, so Mr. Momo, we have our guest that joined us for Professor Chukano today. He said something that is quite instructive. He said if there was a kidnap and 9 people were released or escaped, those 9 people should actually serve as a link, to letting us know whether people were actually kidnapped or not. Now the big question is, where are those people? The 9 people that were released supposedly. Now that's it. In the course of your intervention, it clearly said that the government has failed Nigeria in terms of the mandate to protect their life and property. If we establish that, will it be, you recall that in 2014, we had the national leader of the APC then, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he is our president now. At that point, he said, look, Mr. Jonathan, you have failed, to protect the life and the property of Nigerians, box stops and successful. And if you can't do that, you should resign. Will it be appropriate to ask the president to resign at this moment if you establish the fact that, look, he has failed in protecting life and property of Nigeria?
Well, I think it goes without saying that even without saying, just say, Mr. President, take your medicine. You recommended a particular drug with resignation before you became president. Now you are president, that same challenge or ailment is still there. Can you take your medicine? Can you? So it doesn't even require me to say. It's just a matter of reminding the president of the solution he preferred under a different at a different time under similar circumstance. That's what I would have already said. Mr. President, you suggested that when there's insecurity, the president should resign because it's a failure of governance, So, Mr. President, over to you. Just take a cue from your recommendation. That's what I would say directly. But I think it's more simplistic. It's not as simplistic. It is more complex or not as simplistic as the president tried then, as it was then, the national leader of the opposition party tried to paint it. For me, one of the major challenges our security situation is facing is the over-politicization of security. At all levels of government, at all levels of the state, whether at local level, at the state level, at national level, we have seen a gross politicization of insecurity. We have not seen it. In fact, people want to mine. People are happy when there is insecurity because it's an opportunity for them to attack the government at the state levels. In Edo, for example, very recently we saw, and I'm sure you guys reported it, in Ekuma, where I lectured incidentally, in Ekuma in Edo State, there was this riot, protest that turned rioters, involved arson, involved, killings, and they even, stealing. Basically, there was people were robbed, people were looting, and the rest. So, the first thing we have expected that all hands come together to criticize this criminality. But what we saw were different opinions, different responses, different feedback. One, the government of the day was blaming the opposition and foreign Nigerian based in Russia. That was what the government position was. Two, you saw the opposition party playing the regular script. This government has failed, it's time for you to resign. So, from the opposition and from the state government, part of the response that the feedback you are getting is that it is politicization. So how do you, if you have like, I think it was while I was somebody that spoke earlier, some time ago, that said that insecurity, kidnappings, have no religion. The kidnappers do not identify, kill based on religion. They kill because that is who they are criminals, they are killers. So, are the kidnappers who were operating in Weapon up until recently, were they looking at, okay, we particularly support for the kidnap? The answer is no. So, I think that if we even resolve or agree on this issue of that should stop providing security because it's a common challenge, we'll have a better way out of our hardware economy.
All right, now thank you very much, Comrade Ibrahim Momo. Now I'd like the gentlemen to stay with us. Prince Francis Chilaka, about to be aware, Comrade Ibrahim Momo, Chukan, Nabife, and Mr. Elvis Limehere. Stay with us as we get into another conversation now. Still wondering on security, all right? The report on mutiny, the police says, the Nigerian army says, is fake and a deliberate attempt to destabilize the nation. But let's talk about this report and other pertinent issues around it. Once again, after.